All right, welcome to video number 6. This is week 5 through 8. So if you've made it this far, you should see the final height of your plant. They should have slowed down on drinking a little bit by now. And all of the top dressing that we did, all the roots have grown into it, and it's starting to really get to the point where you should see lots of frost, and you should see all of the different flower sites developed, and you're going to really start to see everything connect. So the buds are going to start to get bigger, and the frost is really going to come in. And this is a key point of time now. So let me go through the differences so far. We were at 12-12, and now that we're past week 4, I like to drop it to 11 hours of light. I think this is very important. Some people do this the whole flowering cycle, but continuing to stair step closer and getting less light will eliminate some of these genetics that are a little finicky from having any issues, and really make sure that they, get pushed even harder towards the end of their life and get deeper into flower. And I don't think there's a requirement to do 12 hours. In fact, a lot of times they don't need all of that. The lights are potent and they work really well. All 12 hours is not really required. Some people shave like 15 minutes off each side of their timer. I like to just take a whole hour off. So 30 minutes on each side of my timer, or just an hour off, really kind of up to you on how you want to do that. All right, so now that we've adjusted the time for weeks 5 through 8, basically for the rest of the time now, we're going to be at 11 hours of light on, 13 hours off. Something that I really like to do. Again, we're not using any aloe vera at this point. And the next one, the microbe complete, we're not using any of that because we're in flower, just like the bloom transition. The next thing, I want you to add your yucca first, just like we talked about in the other videos. That'll get your water all soapy and ready to receive it. It's 2 to 3 milliliters per gallon. If you missed it in the previous video, I like to use these little shot glasses to measure. If you're measuring a lot, you can use the big glass to measure. To me, that's a little easier than the teaspoons and all that stuff, but that's up to you. Measure this, get it in the water, get it stirred up, and then you're going to be ready to add the rest of the ingredients. The first one will be the biophos and the enzyme elixir. We want to continue to, at this point, really stack these flowers, mobilize that phosphorus for the energy, and get all of these, all of this really built so that we're happy with the final results. And so we want to keep using the biophos and keep it using the enzymes that speed up that process, and follow the measurements there in the feeding chart. You want to do it at least once or twice during this cycle. Most people do it once a week. If you're in a huge bed, you might only do it once or twice. So it's totally up to you, but a lot of times with a smaller grow and smaller containers, you're going to really focus on this at least once a week. Some guys do this every watering and only do the biology once a week, so that's up to you. The next thing is we're going to continue to use this Thrive-In amino acid. We're only going to drench it. You can use that all the way through week 8 if you've got a long flowering strain that's going to go 9, 10, 11 weeks. Otherwise, if you're confident you're going to be done by week 8 or 9, I want you to start to cut out the Thrive-In after this first week or 2. And so that's kind of up to you. You can just avoid it at this point, or you can use it through weeks 5 and 6. If you've got a long flowering genetic, I want you to keep going until we get to that ripening stage, and then you can cut it out completely. And it's kind of up to you when to do that. All right. The next thing, the big 6 micros, keep using those. We're stacking flowers. Micronutrients are still important at this point. The freeze-dried coconut water, we're still going to be using that all the way through. I just really like adding those sugars regardless of how far in the process we are, and those hormones. And then we're going to stop all top dressing. So you notice, no more craft blend, no more build-a-flower. Grow kashi, if you really wanted to, you can keep sprinkling down there in an effort to prepare it for the next cycle. However, you don't have to do anything at that point. We're also going to stop all of our IPM, at least sprays. So we're no longer going to do any treatment spray. You might want to still keep a sticky trap to identify if any pests are coming in. You might want to still take precautionary measures like cleaning your grow room and making sure everything's nice, but you want to inspect the plants, look for powdery mildew. You want to get to that plant in the back corner, make sure none of the leaves are decaying and molding up. You want to check humidity and all that, make sure we're in the target range. But we're not going to be spraying any more treatment or anything now that we're in week 5 and beyond. Okay. If you've got an issue that you've got to spray, you can use the treatment, but at that point, I'm not going to recommend it to everybody any longer. Okay. Those are the main differences. So if you've made it this far, you can see the main thing is we're stopping that top dressing. We're continuing the rest of the stuff at least once a week. And the main thing to be aware of right now is visually inspecting your entire grow room to notice if there's any molds or mildews, make sure we're staying clean. And particularly important right now, we should be through the weeks of heavy watering. So if you haven't taken notice, you're probably going to need to cut back on your watering, or you're going to start overwatering. And when the plant slows down in growth, the last thing we want to do is overwater it, because we're going to lock out all the access to these nutrients that are going to build all of the yield at this point. Okay. The only other thing to consider, I've talked about it a couple times. Let me scroll this above the video. The optional compost tea recipe. If you've got big plants and they're bigger than your container, or if you just really want to give it some extra power because you feel like they could need it, they could use it, brew a compost tea up. Go to the BuildASoil blog. In fact, why don't I just do that right now? I'll show you where it's at. Go to buildasoil.com. You can go over to our blog, and there's a search bar. So click on the blog. Here at the top is a search bar. Type in compost tea and hit enter, and you're going to see brewers, how do you make compost tea. All this stuff is available. In fact, some random new ones on here. I'm going to have to look that up. Look at their ads. Crazy. So anyways, we look for compost tea, and you can see that here's all of the different ones down here. And if you look at the how to make compost tea in 3 easy steps, that's the one that you're going to want to click on. And so you can see it goes down and it talks about the ideas behind it and the ingredients. You can follow this recipe, or you can follow these steps, and you can follow the recipe that is actually on the growing system page that we're talking about here. So again, don't ignore the compost tea if you think you need it. Not everybody will, especially if you're in a really big container. Other than that, we are in the flowering fruiting section. We're going week 5 through 8. We're almost finished. The next video is going to be on the ripening period, and really basically cutting everything out and making sure that we're inspecting the trichomes. So I'm going to do that final video before we get into the harvesting and curing, where I'm going to at least touch lightly on those subjects. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, as always, you can email support@buildasoil.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.